Princess, choose another one. And turn that off. Go push out. The water, princess. Hands up. Wow. Alright. Shalom. Shalom Israel. Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushua put the thumb to the brothers. Shalom Yahweh Shema Alathun Ba'Hashem Yahushua to the sisters. We're the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge. Started at the 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under commanding General Yana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group nor any other Christian organization. Alright? So tonight's class is the history class. Alright, tonight's class is the history class. Remember, history is very important. History is very important. And here's the reason why history is very important, because you can learn from history. Through historic events, you are going to be able to learn from history. You're going to be able to learn from the things that have happened in history. Now, specifically, let's talk biblically. The Bible is the black man's, Hispanic, Latino man's, Native American man's historic biblical records, like a historic record. In the Bible, these scriptures are the historic records of the Israelites, which are the so-called black, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Now remember, it's very, very important for us to dig deep down in history. This is part of our culture. This is part of our heritage. We need to know this. We need to know the things that have happened in the past, in history, so we can learn from it. If it was something that was done wrong, we don't want to do it. If there was something that was done right, we want to do it. Like, we have to learn from our history. We have to learn from our past. That's why the Lord said in Romans, the things that are written aforetime were for our learning. Like, these things are for our learning. These things are put into place because this is for our learning. So we can learn from it. The Old Testament, like, it's so evil for the Christian church to say the Old Testament and the law is so done away with, when these are things that we're supposed to be learning from. Like, we're supposed to learn from the events that happened during the times of Moses, in the wilderness, in Egypt, so we know, we may not want to do this, because the Lord swallowed up these brothers for doing this. Like, we may not want to do this as a priest, because the Lord literally burnt these priests in the middle of the service, and we had to drag their bodies out of the temple, because they want to burn incense that were not of the Lord. Like, these are things that we can learn from. You know what I'm saying? We can learn how by serving the Lord will be on your side. Right? Like, these are things that you can learn from historically, biblically, in the Bible. That's why history is so important, man. Especially when it comes to our records as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Now, before we start class, does anybody have any questions? Before we start class, does anybody have any questions? Khan or La'ad, just let me know. Alright, if you guys have any questions. Alright? Alright, if so, just put it into the live chat and I'll be Tawab. All right. If you have any questions, put into the live chat. That's perfectly fine. All right. If you guys have any questions, put into the live chat. It's perfectly fine. All right. I know some of y'all might be looking at me like, oh man, obviously Rashomon doesn't have a beard anymore like he used to. Don't worry, it'll grow back. No sweat. It's no sweat. I may grow it back. I might keep it low. I don't know. It depends. I'm not sure. I don't know what I want to do. Just know I'm able to grow a beard if I want to. All right. All right. I don't need. If y'all try to say something, I will take y'all to counsel. All right. Nah, I'm just joking. All right. So let's get it. Judges chapter 3. So now we're in Judges. All right, we're going to be in the book of Judges. Now last week, this is where we left off. We were in the book of Judges. All right, so we're going to continue. All right, we're going to continue the story and the things and the events that are recorded in the book of Judges. All right, we're going to focus on the sins of Israel. All right, we're also going to focus on the judges that the Lord raised up. All right, we're also going to we're going to get into Deborah. All right, Deborah. We're going to get into what a prophetess is. All right, we're going to get into detail on what a prophetess is. All right, because this is a very important subject, especially for our sisters out there. This is something for our sisters to really hear about, to understand what it truly means to be a prophetess and what a prophetess really is. All right, all right. So we're gonna get into that. All right. And I promise you, we're not going to make anything up. All right, we're not going to make anything up back here. All right, I'm going to tell you exactly what the Bible says. I'm going to tell you what the scripture says. I'm going to tell you the Hebrew meanings of these words. I'm not going to make anything up. Don't think the Isupk hates women or against women. Listen, we love Black, Hispanic, and Native American women. From the bottom of our hearts, we love Black, Hispanic, and Native American women. We do not hate you guys at all. All right, so don't think I'm making something up because we hate black women or something like that. Absolutely not. We're just going to teach Black, Hispanic, and Native American women, and of course Black, Hispanic, and Native American men, a woman's role, right, and what a prophetess is according to the scripture, according to the Bible, according to our historic records, and not something that the Christian church made up and lied to us about. So let's start from Judges chapter 3 verse 1. Judges chapter 3 verse 1. Now these are the nations which the Most High left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan. So not all of Israel. So there were nations left in the land of Canaan, which is now known as the land of Israel. So when we came into the land of Israel, now remember, this is during the time of Joshua. This is the time prior, this is the time frame of before and after Joshua's death. All right. Now remember, Joshua was the man after Moses that the Lord put in charge. Like anything that the Lord told Moses to do, the Lord told Joshua to do the very same thing. Like Joshua already know what to do. Like Joshua already knew what to do when we came into the land of Canaan, because Moses directed him exactly what to do when we were coming into the land, right? That the Most High promised our forefathers, starting from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for an inheritance. Like Joshua already knew. Like the next man in charge, it's always been like that. Like since Moses, if you were under Moses, right, second in command of Moses, then you were up in line. Joshua was second in command. Anyone after Joshua, it was him, and after that, etc., etc., because that's who the Lord chose. That's the ranking structure that the Lord set up. There was always a man in charge of the nation of Israel, and in charge to lead the nation of Israel. And we're going to find this in Judges chapter 3. All right, this is going to explain more in detail different occasions and different scenarios when the Lord raised up a man and different men to save and deliver Israel, right, from the sins that they've committed. Like it's right here in Judges chapter 3, and we're going to go into detail, and eventually we're going to get into the history of Deborah. All right. So there were nations left in the land to prove Israel. And the reason why, now remember last Monday's class, we explained how we went to war after war with the Canaanites and the Jebusites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, like all these other nations of people that were in the land of Canaan. We went to war with them. Like the Lord is a man of war. When we got the land of Canaan, the Lord, we got this land by war because this land was promised to us. Like the Lord chose a certain people to be the Lord chose a certain nation of people to be the authority, right? The authority over the land, to be the authority over the earth. Specifically, the Lord chose the Israelites to be that authority, which is now the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's why we came into the land of Canaan and we went to war with the Canaanites and the Jebusites and the Hittites and the Perizzites, because this land was already promised to us to be the authority over. And the Lord gave an order to kick all these nations out. Now some understood and said, we don't want no problems, and left. Some said, nah, we gonna get down with the get down, and they lost. That's because the Lord was with Joshua. And the Lord was with the soldiers that Joshua raised up to go to war. You understand? So now we're here in Judges chapter 3. Now there's other nations in this land because being disobedient and not listening to the orders of the Lord to get rid of these nations out of the land and get them the heck out of the land so they can get out of your land. Like that was the order. Go to war with these people and kick them out of the land because this land is going to be yours. Some of the tribes did not listen. Like almost 80% of the tribes of Israel did not listen to what the Lord said to do by kicking these nations out of the land of Canaan so we can establish the nation of Israel. So those tribes, even though we established the nation of Israel still, they allowed those nations to live amongst us. Now, with that being said, even though that those nations were among us, those nations were second-class citizens to us, and they were like in a position in a serving position. What I mean by that, they were like second-class citizens, right? They were at the bottom of our kingdom. When we were in the nation of Israel and we established our nation, though they were not the top dogs. That was our country. That was our land. That was our nation. We were the head people in charge. We were authority, while any other nation there were like the second-class citizens of the nation. They were just there, right? And they were in a servile position, not a slavery type position, but like a servile position, right? Right? In a sense of a second-class citizen. Now, the Lord wanted us to get rid of these nations. Here's why. Because the Lord did not want them in the land with the Israelites, because the Lord wanted Israel to be separate. That was the spirit behind the Lord always. For all the people on the earth to separate themselves entirely from each other. That's why the Lord destroyed the Tower of Babel to begin with. Because all men were joining together, believing in the same thing, and believing in wickedness and all this other stuff, speaking the same language. There was too much togetherness, right? There was too much togetherness, and guess what? The Lord wasn't with it. The Lord was not with it at all, because these other nations served other gods, while the sons of God, meaning the ones that come from Adam, were supposed to serve Him. Instead, we start doing what these other nations start doing. So the spirit behind the Lord of us, of Him wanting us to be separate, is so we can serve Him properly. Because when we're with other nations, and we're around other nations, you have so much temptation around you. You have so much sin around you that's going to possibly cause you to disobey the laws of God and cause you to sin against the Lord. And then you end up serving different gods and different idols and different rocks, right, and different goddesses, and start practicing these other type of practices contrary to the Lord. Now you end up going against the Lord, and it causes a lot of problems. So now here we go. Even as many of Israel had not known all the wars of Canaan. Like there were wars in the land of Canaan. There was wars happening in the land of Canaan because this was the land promised to our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. This land was going to be our land. All right, so there were different wars in the land of Canaan of other tribes of Israel doing what the Lord said to do, like Judah. Judah went into the land and did what they had to do for the most part, and kicked a lot of the other and kicked out the Jebusites and the Perizzites and the Hivites. All right, like the Judites, they did their job for the most part. All right, for the most part. So I believe that there were because for the most part, because Judah did leave some Canaanites there, but for the most part, Judah did kick out in some of the wars these other nations of people out of the land. Some even said, "Hey, you can have it." Some said, "You can have this city and name it whatever you want, and we'll name this land over here this city because we want to get the hell out your way." All right, you can find that in Judges chapter 2. Verse 2, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing thereof. So only that the generations of the children of Israel might know. So the Lord said only that the generations of the children of Israel might know to teach them war. So the Lord wanted to teach these the generation before, to teach the other generation of Israelites, teach them about war, teach them about the wars that we had, teach them about how we got this land and how we came into this land and conquered this land. And this land was given to us by the Most High, from the high power, from the God of Israel. You understand? His name is Yahweh. Like, this land was given to us for an inheritance, right? Since our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Like the Lord said, we were strangers in the land of Canaan. But guess what? Due to the fact that we were strangers in the land of Canaan, or should I say, even though we were strangers in the land of Canaan, the Lord still chose us to be the authority over the land of Canaan and gave us the land of Canaan to rule over and to have as a possession and an inheritance, you understand? Such as before knew nothing thereof. That's like at the least, such as before knew nothing thereof, because there was a generation that did not know the Most High, and then there was a generation that did not know about the wars that was going on to get this land. Like think about it this way, in America, there was a generation that knew nothing about the Revolutionary War that was able to establish America. Like, America was established by the rape and the murder and the genocide of the Native American people. That's how America was established. Right? That's how America was established, by the rape and the murder. Right? Because this land was never theirs to begin with. They already had their own land. And they could have easily stayed in their own land. While this land was already inhabited by the Native Americans. And this was their land. We were already separate. We had our own land. There was no reason for you to come into this land at all. Right? Unlike Israel, we didn't have a land of our own. We only had a portion of a land. Right? Of where we stayed. We were strangers. All right, in the land of Canaan. And the Lord decided, because that's the Most High, and He can make whatever decision He wants to make, who He wanted to have that land overall, and to be the power and the authority over that land. And we went to war with these nations. We didn't rape them. We didn't kill them. Right? I mean, it's like we went to war with them. We didn't rape them. We didn't enslave them and lynch them and oppress them for years at a time. We didn't do any of that. We set certain rules and regulations, and we ruled this land justly through our laws, our statutes, and our commandments. Alright? Verse 3. Namely, 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal-Hamon unto the entering in of Hamath. Verse 4. And they were to prove Israel. Now these are the nations that were in the land of Israel. To prove Israel. Remember in Judges chapter 2, these nations were now left in the land of Israel. Since we kept them there, the Lord said, I'm not going to take them out. So because of so, I'm going to keep them there to prove you to see if you're going to serve me or you're going to serve these other gods instead. Like the Lord right now is testing Israel and trying and seeking to prove Israel. All right. Verse 4. And they were to prove Israel by them to know whether they would hearken a warrior. Hadazah, come in. Hadazah, come in. Come in. You alright, warrior? Come in. You alright, warrior? Hey, sit down. Sit down. No sweat, no sweat, no sweat. Alright. So now the Lord said, verse 4, and they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they will hearken unto the commandments of the Most High. Alright? Hey, warrior, come here. Adonai, you too. Come here. There you go. Hey, honor God. Come here too as well. Hey, put this up. Now, let's make this. Now, I want you guys to be as quiet as possible, alright? Okay? And y'all need to behave yourselves. Alright? That is teaching class. I make myself clear? Go ahead. So now in verse 4, and they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Most High, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. So now, once again, the Lord is saying, and they were to prove Israel by them. Like these are the nations that the Lord used to prove Israel. To know whether, here we go, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Most High. Like these nations were here to prove, once again, like I said, this was stated in Judges chapter 2. But the Lord is reiterating himself, right? Saying these specific nations are here to make sure if the nation of Israel is going to serve me or not. Are we going to eat pork or shrimp or lobster or not? Right? Are we going to sit there and have a bunch of fornication, a bunch of orgies, and become homosexuals and lesbians and smoke weed and get high, get shape-ups, wear dreadlocks, bald your head, shave your face, you know what I'm saying, have a bald face looking like you were a kid again? Like this is what the Lord is doing. Go ahead with it. Right? Which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. Verse 5. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites. So the children of Israel, here's more nations. Now here's the more nations. And they took their daughters, and the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. So these are the other nations that were still in the land of Israel. Now remember, these are the same nations, right? These are the same nations, right, that the Lord was also talking about in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. Right, in Deuteronomy chapter 7. Not verse 6, but verse 1 and through Genesis. In Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 through 4, right, I want to say 5 as well. These are the nations that the Lord was also talking about. And about how we should deal with these nations when we come into this land specifically. Alright? Of course, there's a spirit behind that law as well. Alright, there's a spirit behind that law. But we're not going to get too much, we're kind of going to get into that. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Verse 6. And they took their daughters to be their wives. So here we go. Now here we go. Once again, this is Israel. Now this is a sin in Israel. We were not supposed to take another nation's of people's daughters or sons to be our husbands or wives. We were never supposed to do that as a nation of people. Like the Lord is against them bed wenches out there. Like the Lord is against our men having sex and making marriages with these other nations of people. With these so-called white women. Like the Lord is against it. The Lord is absolutely against it. The Lord is against interracial marriage. That's in the Bible. The law states that we are not supposed to sleep with these other nations of people. The Lord states that. And Amorites and Perizzites, right? These are the nations, right? And they took their daughters, verse 6, and they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. Like this is what we have to understand. When we decide to make marriages with these other nations of people, when we start to make marriages with the Edomites, and start making marriages with the Hamites, and the Elamites, and the Moabites, and the Ammonites, and the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, overall, other nations, when we decide to make marriages with these people, right, and create families with these people, we end up serving their gods, no doubt about it. It is a guarantee that when you make a marriage with another nation of people, you will end up serving their gods. You will start practicing their culture and not the culture that the Lord wanted you to keep and wanted you to follow, right? And wanted you to observe. Like, that's what we have to understand. If you want to lay down with an Edomite, right? With an Edomite man or an Edomite woman, you're going to end up serving that Edomite man's God or gods, right? When you lay down with that Edomite woman, you're going to end up serving that Edomite woman's God or gods. That's what's going to happen. That's why the Lord said we should not give our daughters and our sons to their sons and to their daughters. Because it's going, right? It's going to turn our heart away from Him. And there's many accounts throughout the scriptures that this has happened. We're supposed to learn from this. This is the history as well. Now, of course, this topic overall isn't about interracial marriage. But here's one of the precepts as well. So any of y'all brothers out there, any troopers out there, all right, any young officers out there listening, this is one of the precepts too as well of interracial marriage and the consequence behind interracial marriage. Now here we go, because the Lord is about to nip it in the bud. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Most High. So this was evil to the Most High. By us giving our sons to their daughters and giving our daughters to their sons, this was evil in the sight of the Lord. All right, this was very, very evil in the sight of the Lord. And forgot the Most High their power. Like we forgot about the Lord. We forgot about His laws, His statutes, and commandments. All right? This is the evil that we did. And served Baalim and the groves. We started serving other gods and other idols. We started to practice other beliefs. This is why the Lord wanted us to be separate. Because that's why He wanted us to take these nations and completely kick them out of the land. So this would not happen. Like, this is what the Lord does not want. Now, guess what? In the nation of Israel right now, right? In the nation of Israel, they're being proved by the Most High, by these other nations being around them, to see if they're going to serve the Most High. Well, guess what? We're going through that same test right now. In America, as Israelites, as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the Lord is proving us to see who's going to truly keep my laws and my statutes and my commandments. Are you going to sleep with whores while you're in America? Are you going to watch pornography in America? Are you going to be a homosexual or a lesbian or have a whole bunch of orgies and threesomes? Are you going to eat pork and shrimp and lobster? Even though all these sins and wickednesses around you, are you going to fight your flesh and say, you know what? I'm going to serve the Lord. And I'm going to keep His laws, statutes, and commandments. We are going through the very same test that our forefathers have gone through in the book of Judges. Now, we could have prevented this test by just kicking these other nations out. In this case, we've already disobeyed the Most High, and now we're here. Now we have to prove ourselves that we're going to obey the Most High. Even though there's a whole bunch of nations among us. The Lord wants to see, are you still going to have sex with that Edomite? Or that Moabite? Or that Ammonite? Right? Are you still going to make marriages with these other people? And make covenants with these other nations of people? Are you still going to do this and live that disgusting, unclean lifestyle? Are you going to continue to live it? Or are you going to serve me? We're going through that very same test, Akim and Akwakim. And don't take it lightly. And the Lord goes on to say, verse 8, Therefore, the anger of the Most High was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of the Chushan Rishathim. The Chushan Rishathim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Chushan Rishathim 8 years. So we served Chushan Rishathim for 8 years. So we served that king of Mesopotamia. So because we decided to make marriages with these other nations of people, and gave our sons to their daughters, and our daughters to their sons, we went into captivity for that. The Lord sold us and put us into the hand of our enemy, and we served the king of Mesopotamia, right, which is Chushan Rishathim, 8 years. We served this king, Chushan Rishathim, for 8 years, because we sinned and did evil in the sight of the Lord by making marriages with these other nations of people. So here you go, here's a precept in the scriptures of us being punished, right, for making marriages with other nations of people. Alright? Verse 9. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Most High raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel. So the Lord raised up a deliverer. So in this time, right, when the Most High heard the cries of the Israelites and heard the suffering that we were going through, and the pain that we've been going through, and the poverty that we're in, and now, because guess what? We're no longer the authority now. We became the second-class citizens. We became in that servile position. So we're suffering. We got to obey by their rules. Why? Because we decided to not obey the rules and the laws and the regulations and the commandments and the statutes that the Lord passed down to give to us to keep and follow and observe. Right? And when the children of Israel cried unto the Most High raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel. So the Lord raised up a deliverer. Alright? The Lord raised up a deliverer. Right? So like it. Let's see. Who delivered them? Even Othniel, Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Who delivered them? Even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Verse 10. And the Spirit of the Most High came upon him. So now this is, now who did the Lord raise up? This was the man that the Lord raised up to deliver the nation of Israel. Right? Which is Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. Alright? Now this wasn't Caleb's actual younger brother. This was just like someone very close to Caleb. How do you know that this wasn't Caleb's actual younger brother? Well, because Caleb and Othniel, they both come from different fathers. So that's how you know that they're not actual, biological brothers. They're just brothers. Alright? Verse 10. And the Spirit of the Most High came upon him, and he judged Israel. So how did he judge Israel? Right? How did he judge Israel? He was telling Israel, well, guess what? Is this not what the Lord said to do? He judged Israel. He said, he was speaking to Israel. Othniel judged Israel like, hey man, we're supposed to be serving the Lord. We got to come back to these laws, statutes, commandments. We got to stop eating that pork, man. This is what the Lord said. These ain't my words. These are the Lord's words. The reason why we ended up here is because we decided to go after other gods, and we decided to make marriages with these other nations of people. Like the Lord said, and he judged Israel and went out to war. And after he judged Israel, he went out to war. He went to battle and fight. And the Most High delivered Chushan Rishathim, king of Mesopotamia, into his land. And his hand prevailed against Chushan Rishathim. So now Othniel, right, because the Lord was with him, right, he won that war. over the king of Mesopotamia. Verse 11. And the land had rest 40 years, and Othniel the son of Kenaz died. So now the land had rest for 40 years, meaning they were good for 40 years. There was no servitude. They were keeping God's law and the commandments. Everything was fine and peaceful. They were in the position where they wanted to be and where they needed to be. Verse 12. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Most High. And the Most High strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Most High. So we done more evil in the sight of the Lord. So now here we go. The more evil we done, the more evil we did, the more punishments that the Lord is going to give us. So now, because we went against the Lord again, now Eglon the king of Moab is against Israel. Alright, verse 13. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and he possessed the city of palm trees. So now here we go. Alright, so now he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel. So now he brought other nations in to go against Israel. And he smote us. Alright? And now he possessed the city of palm trees. Verse 14. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. So we served King Eglon we served him for 18 years. Now once again, this is due to the fact, right, that we did evil in the sight of the Lord. Now, the first evil was what? Interracial marriage. Alright? So let's go. Let's get it. Verse 16. Verse 15. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Most High raised them up a deliverer. So once again, the Lord raised up a deliverer. Like the Lord has always raised up a man. So far, it's always been a man. First, it was Othniel. Now, we're about to get the second deliverer. Right? Someone that delivers is someone that takes you out of danger. A deliverer is someone that's taking you out of danger and putting you back into safety. All right? The way you take yourself out of danger is by putting yourself somewhere safe. If you are being murdered by police officers, you are in danger. So how do you stop being killed by police officers? You separate yourself from that danger. That's what you do. Right? And raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Jerah, a Benjamite. So now you have Ehud, right, the son of Jerah, a Benjamite. So this is Ehud, right? This is a Benjamite soldier. This is a Benjamite warrior. And this is who the Lord raised up. Now this was a Benjamite. The first brother was a Judite. Now here's the second brother. He's a Benjamite. A man left-handed. So this man was left-handed. So this Benjamite, he was predominantly a left-handed man. And by him, the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. And by him, meaning this was by him, the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. So now Ehud, right, and Israel is sending a present to the king Eglon, which is the king of Moab. All right. Verse 16. But, meaning rather, Ehud made him a dagger, which had two edges. So Ehud, he made him a dagger, like the Spirit of the Lord. Now the Spirit of the Most High, the Spirit of these men that the Lord has always raised up to deliver Israel and to lead Israel and to take them out of danger and to bring them into a better place. That spirit of that man always was a warlike spirit. This man is making a dagger. That is a weapon. That is a weapon of war. That is a weapon that you fight with and kill with. Like these men that the Lord raised up to deliver Israel always had a warrior spirit and a militant spirit. Like it's so Christian and so evil to be against the ISUPK because we're militant. That's because the Lord has always been militant. And whoever the men that the Lord raised up, they were always militant. Ehud the Benjamite, he's making a sword right now. It's like a dagger with two blades on the edge. That's some Darth Maul type Star Wars joint. Got the lightsaber with the two ends on it. Like that's what Ehud is making right now. He's making a dagger with two blades on it. Now that's hardcore. Not just one blade, but he gonna get you with two and one. You about to get the 2-for-1 special. You understand? Messing with Ehud, you about to get the 2-for-1. You might wanna rethink some things. You understand? Of a cubit length, and he did grit it under his raiment upon his right thigh. So now remember, he's left-handed, but he put it on his right thigh, right? Because everybody knows this man to be what? Everyone knows Ehud to be left-handed, right? Everyone knows this man to be left-handed. All right, verse 17. And he brought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab. And Eglon was a very fat man. So Eglon, he was a very fat man. I mean, he was a big man. He was wealthy. He ate a lot. He ate good. He was a fat man. All right. Verse 18. And when he made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bear the present. So it says, and threw the present unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bear the present. So King Eglon, he sent the people away with the present. Verse 19. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by Gilgal and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king. So now this is Ehud. Now Ehud turned around, right, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king. So now this is Ehud talking to the king of Moab. All right, he's talking to the king of Moab right now. He's talking to Eglon. All right. Okay, who said, keep silence, and all that stood by him went out from him. So all the people that were around him, because he said he had a secret, they went out. Verse 20. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. So Ehud came unto him. So Ehud came unto the king of Moab, and he was sitting in a summer parlor. So this place right here, this summer parlor, is pretty much like a relaxed spot, which he had for himself alone. Like this spot right here was for himself alone, so he can be by himself, right? So he could chill, relax, maybe whatever, go back some wine, some liquor, whatever the drinks were back then. That summer parlor was it. That's where that king was. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. So now Salaki, this is my favorite part. Salaki, we're about to get to my favorite part, and y'all about to find out why this is my favorite part. Because to me, I don't know if y'all seen my last Facebook post maybe not too long ago. I said Ehud was gangster about it. This is where. All right. Ehud was talking to the king, right? And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. So Ehud said, hey, I got a message from God for you. That's what Ehud said. Like think about it. Think about Ehud. He got the blade, all of this stuff. He said, hey, I got a message for God for you. Think about it. Like in that context. Why do you have a message for God for me? I don't know you. I'm the king of Moab. I'm Eglon. Why would you have a message for me from God? So Ehud was like, hey, the Lord, and Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. Ehud said, I got a message from God for you. I got a message from God for you. So let's find out what this message is. And he arose out of his seat. So Ehud arose out of his seat. All right, he rose out of his seat, meaning he got up. Verse 21. And Ehud put forth his left hand. So he put forth his left hand and took the dagger from his right thigh. So he took the dagger from his right thigh, right? So he went to his right thigh and took the dagger out, the dagger that he made with the two blades, right, from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. Hey, listen, Akim and Akwakim, that was the message from God right there. Ehud said, I have a secret to tell you, And he put it, and he said, and Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. Ehud said, I got a message from God for you. I got a message for God for you. And this message was a blade in that man's belly, man. That was the message from God. That's some Godfather type joint to me. So like that's some gangster stuff right there. For you to tell a man, I got a message from God for you, and then take a blade out and put it in that man's belly, man, and put it in that man's stomach. That's real. I apologize. The spirit of these men in the Bible was always a militant and warrior spirit. We did not play around when it came to serving the Lord and delivering our people from danger and putting them into safety. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a game. We were very serious about it. We were gangsters about it. You understood? Just like right now, we not out here killing nobody. Now we not like Ehud grabbing blades and going up to Donald Trump and being like, or going up to Joe Biden like, hey yo, I got a message for God for you. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. What we're doing is teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans and judging our people and teaching them to serve God and come back to his law, statutes, and commandments, and separate from your enemy and separate from these other nations of people, so we can take our people from a dangerous area and bring them into a safer spot. Our communities will be so much safer if we separate from all the beliefs and the practices and the customs from these other nations of people. Our communities and cities and towns will be a better and safer place if we separate from their beliefs and their culture and their heritage. And guess what? And we're still going to be gangster about it. We're still going to have that very same spirit of Ehud, of telling these other people in these other nations, hey, I got a message from God for you. Listen, Ehud gave him the message by putting it in his stomach. We're not doing that. Spiritually, we are doing that. By telling these other nations, you are going into slavery. You are going into slavery. You are going to punish for the crimes you committed against the nation of Israel. You will pay for the crimes and the things you've done against so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Spiritually, this is the message from God to these other nations of people. This is that message. That's us spiritually taking that dagger and putting it into that stomach of theirs. That's what we are doing as priests and prophets of the Lord back here, man. Remember, the Lord raised up men to deliver our people. It always been a man. A man was always raised up and put into a position of authority over other men and women to go to war and to deliver our people out of danger and bringing them into safety. Now remember those words that I just said. There was always a man involved that the Lord raised up. And there was always a man involved that went to war and had complete authority over other men and women and took men out to war and into the battlefield to deliver our people from danger and bringing them into safety. And spiritually, we're still doing that now. The men are going out to war, going out on those corners, going out into the street, and teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that they're God's chosen people and we need to come back to his laws, statutes, and commandments. That's us judging Israel right there. Us judging Israel is just telling you exactly what the Lord told Moses and all the other priests and prophets of the Lord that he raised up throughout the Old Testament. We ain't doing nothing different from that. That's us judging Israel. Alright? Let's go ahead. Verse 22. And the half also went in after the blade, and the half also, so the other half. So listen, that dagger went so far into that man's stomach, the other half of the blade. Remember, this is a double dagger. The other half of the dagger went into that man. Now that's deep. Now that's deep right there. And you can take that spiritual literally, but that's deep. You understand? And after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade. So the fat, right, closed upon it. Like the blood and the guts and all that just formed upon the blade. Alright? So that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly. and the dirt came out. So now, it was so far in his stomach that you weren't able to pull that dagger out. You weren't able to turn that blade out. Alright, verse 23. And Ehud went forth through the porch and shut the doors of the parlor upon him and locked them. Now this is gangster right here. This is why I love Ehud so much. Right? This is one of my favorite parts of Judges. Ehud just put the dagger in that man's stomach, laid that man to rest, and then went out the door and locked it. He really pulled off some Godfather type stuff. I just want y'all to understand that. Like, he pulled off some mafia type dealing with. You understand? Like, the Lord, this is the spirit of the men of the Lord that the Lord raised up. Now, once again, we're not saying going out and start killing people and start killing our oppressor and nothing like that. We're not telling y'all to do that. We're not telling any brother or sister to do that. We're just teaching you the historic records of what the men of the Lord did before us. Alright? And the spirit that they had. The spirit that they had, they was going to put a dagger in your stomach for the nation of Israel and lock the doors on you. They let you bleed out behind locked doors. That's the spirit of that was the spirit that they had, just so they can save our people. You understand? And deliver our people out of the hands of our oppressor. That's what they did. That's what Ehud just did. Verse 24. And when he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, surely he covered his feet in his slumber chamber. Right? So surely, like, he covered his feet, like, meaning he just, he doesn't want anyone to come in. So they just thought, okay, the king good, right? Verse 25, and they tarried till they were ashamed, right? So they tarried, meaning they felt kind of, suspicious, like, okay, it ain't, he usually don't stay in there that long, so what's going on? You know what I'm saying? And behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. So now they never opened the door. He never opened the doors of the parlor. So now there's really suspicion going on. Therefore they took a key and opened them. So now they took matters of their pawn hand and said, you know what? We're going to open up this door. And they opened up the door. And behold, their Lord was falling down dead on the earth. The man was laid flat. Done. Complete. Completo. Finito. That's exactly what happened. Ehud handled business. That was the message from God. Ehud said, I got a message from God for you. That was it. And then locked the door and dipped out. Verse 26. And Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarters, and escaped unto Sarah. So Ehud escaped while they tarried. So while they were just tarrying there, right, and wondering why the king won't answer or unlocking the door, Ehud got the hell up out of there. Alright? And passed beyond the quarters, and escaped unto Sarah. Verse 27. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. So now, when it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. So now Ehud blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim. A trumpet was always a warning. In the nation of Israel, when you blew a trumpet, it was always it was to warn you about something or to get your attention. Like, that was the purpose of a trumpet, was to get your attention for a warning. Possible danger could be coming, or just to get your attention. Just like today, military-wise, if you hear the sirens go off, it's either a warning or to get your attention. Like when that bell rings, it's a very loud noise to get your attention. Whatever the case or danger may be, is to get your attention. And the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. So he went down the mount. Verse 28. And he said unto them, follow after me, for the Most High have delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hands. So now he was like, hey, follow me, for the Most High delivered you, right? Delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. I mean, the Lord is on your side right now. The Lord is trying to deliver you. Alright, so follow me. And the Lord goes on to say, and they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. Right? Verse 29, and they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So now they went straight to war. They went straight to war. You had you had Ehud, right? So you had Ehud, and he got about 10,000 men, right? Like he didn't get 10,000 men. It's lucky. You had Ehud with the children of Israel, right? He got the children of Israel, and he went down that mount. He went towards the Jordan, and he went to war with those Moabites, and they killed about 10,000 men. And those men were strong men. They were warriors. They were militant men too. And they went to war. You understand? Ehud went to war with those men of Moab. Verse 30. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. So now the land had another rest for 40 years. It said 80 years. So now Ehud, right? Now remember, the Lord raised up Ehud, right, to deliver Israel out of the hand of their enemies, to bring them out of danger into a safer place. Like the Lord heard our cries and raised up Ehud. There was always a man that the Lord raised up. That's what I'm trying to explain to a lot of brothers and sisters. There was always a man that the Lord raised up. And it wasn't a woman, right, that the Lord raised up. It was always a man that the Lord raised up. Now, are there parts where a woman did a lot for the nation of Israel? Absolutely. But a woman never went to war and fought on the front lines, right? And went into battle and did the work of the Lord when it comes to teaching his laws, statutes, and commandments and judging Israel in that form. No woman was ever raised up to do anything like that. Alright? Nothing like that. Alright? Verse 31. And after him was Shamgar, the son of Anak, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. So then there was another man that the Lord raised up, and his name was Shamgar, the son of Anak, which slew the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, which is a form of a weapon. And he also delivered Israel. There was always a man that went to war. You understand? There was never a woman that actually went into the battlefield, into war in the nation of Israel. That was never a woman's place. You understand? Judges chapter, let's get Judges. Now we're going to get into Judges chapter 4. Alright, if you guys have any questions too as well, put it into the live chat. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Most High when Ehud was dead. So now, when Ehud was dead, this is when the children of Israel decided to do evil again. Because Ehud had everything in order. You won't go to sin when Ehud was in charge. This was the man that put a dagger in a man's stomach and locked the doors on that man and said, I got a message for God for you. Salaki. Nobody wasn't going to not listen to that man and not keep the commandments, I should say. You understand? So now when Ehud was dead, alright, the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Most High. Meaning we sinned against the Lord again. Like these are lessons that we need to understand. That there's consequences that come when we do evil in the sight of the Lord. Like it's evil to marry other nations of people. It's evil to be a murderer. It's evil to be an abortionist. It's evil to eat pork, shrimp, and lobster. It's evil to be a homosexual. It's evil to be a lesbian. It's evil to be a pedophile. It's evil to be some rapist. It's evil to support and be an ally to the LGBTIA plus community. Like these are things that are evil. It's evil to get shape-ups and tattoos and serve other guys. Like these are it's evil to do these things. It's evil to bow down to a rock and call that rock some form of God and tell people that this rock has some form of power and tell the people of your nation to circle it 5 times and kiss it and make love to it. Like these are things that are evil to the Lord. You understand? Verse 2. And the Most High sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan. Alright? So now, this is getting a part of the time where, okay, I don't want to say that yet. But okay, I will ask that. And the Most High sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan. Does that name Jabin sound familiar? If anyone's paying attention online, where does that word Jabin come from? Where does that sound familiar to y'all? Jabin. You guys heard this before. I know y'all have. Jabin. Where have y'all heard that name before? Jabin. Anybody know? I'll give y'all some time to answer it. Alright? Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt, there goes another word I'm going to ask y'all, Sisera. That sounds familiar too, right? Right? Which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. Verse 3. And the children of Israel cried unto the Most High, for he had 900 chariots. Alright. Anything? Well, here we go. I'll give y'all the answer if y'all don't know. But this is in Psalms 83. Make their nobles like Oreb. Right? Everybody know that? Jabin, y'all heard Jabin before. Make their nobles like Oreb, like Sisera. Like this is when King David was writing that song, right? Here's your answer. This is what he was talking about. This is what he was talking about right here. All right, Jabin, Oreb, Sisera, all that stuff is right here. Now we know the history of a portion of Psalms 83. Alright, so now we know a little bit about the history. We're about to learn the history of Psalms 83. It's in Judges chapter 4. The Lord said precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. Alright? So these names are going to sound familiar. You're going to be like, man, that's crazy. So now when you're reading Psalms 83 and we're saying that prayer, now you know why we're saying that prayer. And now you're going to fully understand the spirit behind that prayer. When we say that prayer, you're going to really understand it now. You're about to really understand it now. All right. At the brook of Kasai. All right. And the children of Israel cried unto the Most High, and he had 900 chariots of iron. So this captain. Okay, so when we were reading in Judges chapter 2 in last class, the tribe of Judah was not able to kick a certain nation of people out of the land because they had chariots of iron. Alright, they had chariots of iron. So they were not able to defeat them at that time. Alright? They were not equipped to battle chariots of iron. Now here we go. Here comes the chariots of iron again. Alright, for he had 900 chariots of iron. In 20 years, he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. So Jabin, the king of Canaan, this captain, right? He oppressed the children of Israel. He oppressed us. You understand? He was murdering us. He was making us slave days on end. You understand? He was just absolutely oppressing us. Just like how we're oppressed in America, Jabin was oppressing the children of Israel. Alright? Oppressed the children of Israel. Verse 4. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time. So now let's focus on verse 4. Alright, we're not going to go nowhere yet before we understand verse 4. Alright, because verse 4, because of the Christian church and because of Christianity, when Christians come, okay, biblically, we tell all blacks, Hispanics, and Americans that a woman cannot be a prophet, right, and have authority over a congregation of men, and they are not to teach the Bible. Of course, Christians, being unlearned in the Bible, and have the nerve to go into the Old Testament and pull Judges chapter 4, verse 4, saying, see, Deborah was a prophetess. She judged Israel. So women can teach. Women can be in charge. Women can be this. Women can be that. We're about to learn what it really is to be a prophetess, and we're going to shut that entire malarkey down, because that's just a bunch of trash. First things first, as a Christian, if you dare go into the Old Testament, you should be ashamed of yourself to even bother going back there, because you know nothing about the Old Testament, because you barely know anything about the New. For you to talk about the law done away with, and then you got the nerve to dibble and dabble in the Old Testament, you should be truly ashamed of yourself. Because throughout the Old Testament, there's nothing but keeping the law of God and keeping the law of the Most High. Christians love Proverbs, and Proverbs tell you to not forget the law of thy father, and do not forget the Most High's commandments, and etc., etc. Throughout the Old Testament, there have been records of us keeping the laws of the Most High. And we are to keep the laws of the Most High. And there's a historic record of when we don't keep the laws of God, we end up going into captivity after captivity after captivity. This is what happens. Alright? So it says, Judges chapter 4, verse 4, Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Labadoth, she judged Israel at that time. So now, does anybody know what a prophetess is? Anyone that may not, does anybody know what a prophetess is? That's just a rhetorical question, because I'm going to give you guys the answer for time's sake as well. A prophetess isn't a woman that's prophesying like a man is going to prophesy. That's not what a prophetess is. If you go into the Bible and go into Judges chapter 4, verse 4, and you go into the Hebrew, and you see the definition of prophetess, it's going to give you the different meanings of what this word can mean. And it had nothing, and I mean barely anything, to do, right, with a woman being like a prophet, like a man is a prophet. So now here we go. So the word for prophetess in the Hebrew, right, is nabaya'ah, right? You will pronounce it as nabaya'ah, all right? Of course, if you do that Yiddish bull crap, all right, or that, you know, that fake Hebrew we call it, with the vowels and things like that, it will be pronounced, I think they say what, Nibiya or Nibiya, whatever the hell, it's like it, whatever it is, don't care. It's pronounced as Nabaya'ah, alright, Nabaya'ah. This is the Hebrew word for prophetess, Nabaya'ah. Nabaya'ah is how you would say prophetess in the Hebrew. Now this word in the Hebrew has a definition to it, and the definition is prophetess, ancient type endowed with gift of song. So a gift of a song, right? This Nabaya'ah could also be like an ancient type endowed with gift of a song, meaning a gift to give songs, right? Second definition, later type consulted for a word, right? Later type consulted for a word, right? Third definition, false prophetess. Fourth definition, wife of Isaiah the prophet. So these are the different contexts of what a prophetess could be. So now, it had nothing to do, and barely had anything to do, with a woman teaching the word of the Most High and teaching the word of God. It says later type consulted for a word, right? Still, no definition referring to prophetess is a woman. I mean, coming from the Hebrew language itself, is a woman teaching the word of the Most High. So right there, let's nip that in the bud. That a prophetess does not mean a woman that can teach the word of God and teach the Bible. We can just cut that out right there. because the word prophetess used in the Bible does not have that definition according to its language. All right? So right there, you can cut any Christian. You cannot use Deborah saying, right, that because she was a prophetess, now you can teach the Bible as a woman. When the word prophetess in the Bible, from its original language, Naba Ya'ah, has nothing to do with a woman teaching the Bible. And I mean nothing at all. So let's go back. So now, so Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Labadah, she judged Israel at that time. So now, we already know a prophetess has nothing to do with teaching the scriptures and teaching the Bible. Right? But Deborah was a prophetess. So what does it mean to be a prophetess? And how was she a prophetess? It says she judged Israel at that time. Well, how did Deborah judge Israel at that time? Well, let's get it. Salaki, is that a question? Most High couldn't give a message to her people. Explain that question, if that's a question or a statement. Explain that question. And let's go to Judges chapter 5, verse 7. We're going to go to Judges chapter 5, verse 7. Alright? Let's get Judges chapter 5, verse 7. This is how Deborah, right, was a prophetess and judged Israel. And here we go. The Lord says, Judges chapter 5, verse 7, the inhabitants of the villages seized. They seized in Israel. So the villages of Israel, they were seized, right? They were seized. Until that I, Deborah, arose. So the villages of Israel were seized until Deborah arose. Now, how did Deborah arose? It's the same way she judged Israel. In the same way why she's called a prophetess. That I arose a mother in Israel. It says that I arose a mother in Israel. Did it say she arose a pastor? Did she say she arose a minister? Did it say she arose a priest? Did it say she arose a prophet? Did it say she arose a preacher or some bishop? No, it did not, right? It said that I arose a mother in Israel. What do mothers do? What do mothers do? What do mothers do? How are you like a mother? Right? How are you like a mother in Israel? She said she arose, the Lord said, and I arose a mother in Israel. How do you become a mother in Israel? Easy. Right? Mothers do this all the time. Can mothers teach? Yes. Can mothers tell you what's right and what's wrong? Yes. The Bible says the aged woman likewise. There's a job in a order to what a woman is supposed to do when it comes to doing her part in the nation of Israel and in black, Hispanic, and Native American families and homes and households. Like, we all play a part, but a woman's part is not teaching the Bible. A woman can tell you, right, well, you know, you're not supposed to murder, you're not supposed to steal. But she's not opening up these scriptures and breaking down the laws of God on why you cannot murder and steal. That's what she's not doing. She's just telling you, hey, you're not supposed to murder and steal. You understand? You know, you're not supposed to dress like that as a lady. Hey, son, what you doing? That's not how you treat a lady over there. You know, hey, why are you dressed like that? You're not supposed to dress like that. You know, in our, you know what I'm saying, you're supposed to dress like a man of war. You're supposed to be dressing like your daddy dressing. Why are you dressing like that? You're supposed to be dressing like that. Like, this is how you're a mother in Israel. So when we go back to Judges chapter 4, verse 4, and Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Labadah, she judged Israel at that time. Now, how did she judge Israel at that time? Well, let's go to verse 5. This is how she judged. She was a mother in Israel. And she judged Israel as a mother. Alright? She judged Israel as a mother. And this is how. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah, between Ramah and Bethel in Mount Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. So now the children of Israel is coming to the mother of Israel, right, for some judgment. Alright, for some judgment. And we're going to see the type of judgment that Deborah is given. Verse 6. And she sent and called Barak. So here's the judgment. She sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam. This is how she's judging Israel. She sent and called for a man. This is how Deborah judged Israel right here. This is what a mother would really do. When mommy can't handle something, what does she do? She goes get daddy. Because daddy knows what to do. Daddy's going to put his foot down. Daddy's going to have a masculine spirit and put everything in check. So this is how she mothered, right? This is how she judged Israel. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him. So now she sent and called for him, right? Because this is a man. And she called for a man. And she's about to tell this man something. Have not the Most High power of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun. Now, once again, this is Deborah, the book's like Deborah, being a mother in Israel. She's telling this one man, right? Did the Lord not tell you to do this? This is not prophesying. This is not teaching the Bible. This is just putting a man back in his place, saying, hey, we are in captivity and we are dying here. We need something to be done. I'm just a woman. I can't do nothing. But Barak, the son of Abinoam, did the Lord not tell you to get 10,000 men? Right? Once again, Deborah went to a man. You understand that? This is how she judged Israel. She went to a man and put a man back in his place. She was taking, like the spirit behind this, she took a man and put him back in his place. What's his place? On top of her. Did you see her say, did you see Deborah putting herself as the authority? Did you see Deborah putting herself on top of other men? Or did she say, hey, did the Lord not tell you to get these 10,000 men and go to war? That's what Deborah just said. So where are these Christians getting where the story of Deborah is saying that a man, like a woman, can teach the Bible, right? And start teaching the scriptures and things like that. You understand? Like this is once again, the Christian church is so evil because once again, the Christian church has the same agenda that our oppressor has. Is to put women in power to make men inferior. Because when a man can't be the authority in his country, on his nation, or over his people in his household, that nation becomes destroyed. That nothing gets done within that nation. And guess what? The Christian church enables that behavior. Okay, it says that's like the mother in the churches. Well, the mother in the church, not so much the mother in the churches, because mothers in the churches get on that pulpit and a certain authority over men. The Lord said in the Bible, any mother in the church, which is a woman in the church, is to shut your mouth and be quiet. So it's not like the mother in the churches, because the mother in the church is supposed to be quiet and shut their mouth while the men are supposed to be teaching the Bible, quote unquote. In this situation, we are in captivity. All right, we're in captivity. We're being oppressed. All right, by a terrible king. All right, which is the Jabin, the king of Canaan. Alright? Alright? Go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali, and of the children of Zebulun. Verse 7. And I will draw unto thee to the river Kishon, Sisera. There goes that name, Kishon, Sisera. These names sound familiar, right? Because this is dealing with this is in Judges, right? The captain of Jabin's army with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him unto thine hand. So this is Deborah going to a man and putting him in his place where he needs to be, in an authority position, and say, did the Lord not say, take these men and go out to war? And go against Captain Jabin and his chariots at Kishon and Sisera? And the Lord's going to be with you when you do it? You understand? Like, we're suffering in Israel. She's not asserting authority over anybody. She's not being a wicked monster, being evil, and saying, you know what, you ain't nothing, you ain't this, you ain't nothing but this and that. You know what, I can do your job better than you. The Lord chose me to go out to war, and I'm gonna bring these 10,000 men instead because you can't do your job right. Deborah didn't do that. Deborah didn't say any of that. She said, in a humbling spirit, right? Hey, so didn't the Lord not say for you to do this and go ahead and do that? So we can get the hell about this captivity. You understand? Like, this is the spirit of a righteous sister. Alright? This is the spirit that our sisters need to have. To be a mother of Israel is to understand your place and to understand what needs to be done as a woman. Deborah did not once step out of line and out of her bounds. We're going to continue reading. I'm even going to get when Deborah even asked to come with, and she still didn't go to the battlefield because she understood her place. Let's get it. Verse 8. And Barak said unto her, oh, Salaki is the next scripture right here. Salaki. Verse 8. And Barak said unto her, if thou wilt go with me, then I will go. So now, Barak was like, hey, if you go with me, then I'll go. Right? But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. So Barak said, if you don't go, then I'm not going. If you go, then I'll go. Verse 9, and she said, I will surely go with thee, notwithstanding the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For the Most High shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. So now Deborah agreed, and now she's with Barak, right? And these brothers, and they're about to go and head out, all right, towards Kadesh. Verse 10. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh, and he went up with 10,000 men at his feet. And Deborah went up with him. So there were 10,000 men with Barak. So Barak gathered 10,000 strong men. Alright? Alright? 10,000 brothers. Alright? And Deborah was also tagging along with him. Verse 11. Now Heber, the Kenite, which was of the children of Habab, the father-in-law of Moses, had served himself from the Kenites, and pitched his tent unto the plain of Zanaim, which is by Kadesh. So there are people right here. This is where they were Salaki, this is where they were setting up at. Alright, of those nation of people. Verse 12. And they sold Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, was gone up to Mount Tabor. So they showed Sisera that, hey, there's men coming. Verse 13, and Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron, and all the people that were with him from Hazareth of the Gentiles unto the river of Kison. So Sisera, when he got the word that there were men coming, right? Now remember, these are 10,000 men ready for war. You understand? This is them going to war. All right, they're going to war, and etc., etc. Right? And so now he's about to be prepared to go to war. Verse 14. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Most High hath delivered Sisera into thine hand. Is not the Most High gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. So now, Deborah didn't go with these brothers. Deborah didn't go down with Barak. Alright? That wasn't the case. Alright? Deborah just said, hey, today's his day. This is the day that the Lord is talking about. We're going to go to war. Y'all going to go to war with these brothers. And the Lord is going to deliver them in your hands. Verse 15. And the Most High discomforts Sisera and all his chariots and all his hosts with the edge of the sword before Barak, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. So the Lord discomfited Sisera and all his chariots and all his hosts with the edge of the sword before Barak. So the Lord was already on our side. We were at war, so that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. So we were whipping their tail. We were going to war, we were whipping their tail, and Sisera said, I gotta get the hell up out of here. That's it. So Sisera fled. Verse 16. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host. So guess what? So Barak chased after them and pursued them unto Hazareth of the Gentiles. And all the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. So Barak, he pursued the chariots. And guess what? All the host of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. That was it. There was not a man left. You understand that? There wasn't a man left. The Lord was with us. Now, was Deborah down there fighting? Was Deborah in there in the middle of the battlefield? Right? Did she have a sword and a dagger and a metal plate chest? No. So where in this story of Deborah does the Christian church get that a woman can be in authority and in power and be in charge over men? Where? There is not once in this story where Deborah was in charge. She got a man to do the job and to do the work of the Lord. This was the work of the Lord, going to war. Does anybody understand that? Salaki, I may have missed that point. Salaki, I may have missed that point, so Salaki about that. This is the work of the Lord right here. Going to war with these brothers. That brother's job in his part of serving the Lord and doing the work of the Lord was going to war. What was Deborah's job? What was Deborah's job? Just to be there. That was it, just to be there. All she did was be a mother of Israel. That's all she did. That was her job. She was a mother of Israel, and she was just there. That was it. That was it. She didn't go into the battlefield. She wasn't trying to be a man. She wasn't trying to get some muscles and some testosterone and grow hair on her chest and try to make her boobs flat and grab a sword and go out there and fight other brothers. She didn't do any of that. She stayed in a woman's place. And she stayed a mother of Israel. You understand? Let's continue. Verse 17. Howbeit Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. Verse 18. And Jael went out to meet Sisera, and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. So she covered him up. So he went into the tent, and she covered him up. And he said unto her, verse 19, and he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. And she opened a bottle of milk, and gave him drink, and covered him. So she opened a bottle of milk, and she gave it to the brother. Alright? Yes, there were bottles back then. Alright? Alright? There were bottles, there were forks, there were spoons back then, there were plates. We had these things, alright? These things existed. Alright? We weren't cavemen. Neither were the other nations at this time cavemen, nothing like that. So they were inventions like bottles, alright? Akim and Akulakian. Alright? Verse 20. And he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee. Right? So again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent. So she asked him, Stand in the door of the tent. Like, stand in the door of the tent. And it shall be, when any man doth come and inquire of thee, when if anyone comes searching for me and asking about me, and say, Is there any man here? That thou shalt say no. So Sisera said, if there was any man that's asking for me, and asking that if there's a man inside this tent, say no. Say no, there's no man in this tent. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent. So now she takes the nail of the tent. She takes a nail from the tent. And took a hammer. She took a nail, and now she has a hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him. Right? So she went up softly. She didn't go up aggressive like. She went up softly to him, like gently, like quietly. Right? And went softly unto him, and smote the nail into his temple, and fastened it into the ground. For he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. So she took that hammer, she took that nail, and went, and then whatever how many hits it took, and that nail went through his temple into the ground. Now, the nails to pinch tents are no small nails. A nail to pinch a tent is about this long. Sometimes they can be like really long, like this. And because whatever you're tying the tent down to, you're making sure it goes deep, deep down on the earth, so it doesn't have any way of coming up, so it can survive in the rain, or hurricanes that might come, or whatever strong winds. You want a nail long enough to go deep down in the ground so that tent doesn't move. So that nail was no small nail like you're putting into a roof, or some small nail that you might be putting into some piece of wood. Now this is a thick metal nail that pitches down tents. I don't know if anyone ever pitched a tent before, but those nails can get really, really long because they need to be sturdy enough to be in the ground. Alright? And fastened it into the ground. So from his temple to the ground, that nail was in his head. So that nail was long enough to go through his head and into the ground. Right? For he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. Verse 22, and behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him, and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. So she said, Hey, come, I'll show you the man that you're looking for. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So the lance, like that nail, was inside his temples, and he was dead, deep down in the ground. So Jael showed Barak this. Verse 23. So the Most High, Like, so God subdued on that day Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the children of Israel. Verse 24. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, the king of Canaan. So the Lord took down Sisera and the king and Jabin, the king of Canaan. And Barak did it. Alright, Barak did it. The Lord and the Most High grabbed a man. Deborah got a man to do the work that the Lord said he was supposed to do. Nowhere did she teach the Bible, break down any scriptures, put herself over a man, or made herself into an authority figure. Deborah didn't do any of that. Alright? Deborah was a mother in Israel. And she judged Israel by getting a man back in his spot and back in his place. Alright, remember, we were in captivity. We were being oppressed. You know how America is oppressing black men today? Well, guess what? Jabin, the king of Canaan, were oppressing black, Hispanic, and Native American men the very same way. Deborah said, this is enough. The Lord said, these nations got to go. And these nations got to get the hell up out of here. Did the Lord not say to do this? The Lord did say it. So why have we not done it? The Lord said this to you, did he not? That wasn't Deborah taking charge or anything. Deborah got a man to do the work of the Lord, to go to war, to deliver us out of the hands of our enemies, to deliver us out of the hands of Sisera, and to deliver us out of the hands of the king of Canaan, which his name was Jabin. That's what Deborah did. And what Deborah did was so beautiful and so righteous. She didn't beat down Barak. She didn't emasculate Barak. She didn't try to take over Barak. She didn't try to be in charge of Barak. She didn't try to be the leader over Barak and those 10,000 men. She wasn't trying to put herself in a position of authority over Barak and those 10,000 men. She stayed in her place as a woman and mothered Israel and mothered Barak. She mothered Barak and said, this is what you're supposed to do as a man. The Lord chose you. Did the Lord not tell you to get these men and go out to war? Like, that's all Deborah did. That's all Deborah did. So now, where did the Christian church get where Deborah, this is where you can get women to teach the Bible? Ain't that crazy? We went through Judges chapter 4 and all the way down. How did they possibly get out of that a woman teaching the Bible and teaching the scriptures? Here's the reality of it. Sometimes we like to listen to what's comfortable to the ear. We like to listen to things that sound nice and sound good. It sounds really nice and loving that women can teach the Bible and teach the scriptures and be equal to a man. That sounds so comfortable. That sounds so comfortable. So like it's so comfortable. And that sounds so great and so good and so loving and so passionate and whatever the hell it may be. It sounds good. But the Lord is absolutely against it. The Lord set up an order in Israel since the time of Deborah. And Deborah displayed that order perfectly. Deborah displayed that order righteously and did what a woman is supposed to do in a position like that. Let the man lead. And let the man be in charge. And let the man do what he has to do to fix the nation of Israel and to deliver Israel out of the hand of their enemies. It's not a woman's job to deliver our nation out of the hands of our enemies, but it is her job to make sure those men are well fed and well taken care of. That is the job of that. That is. That is her job. And make sure they're well fed, they got clothes on their back. That is her job. That is a woman's job. Soldiers need to eat. Soldiers need clothes to be sold. Soldiers need some. You understand? That's a lot here. Soldiers need some. You understand? There is a way for a woman, right? A woman has her part, but it's not having authority over a man and being in power over other men and other brothers. That's not her job. That's not her place. Any questions? Counter la eye. Any questions? Alright. If there's no questions, I'll say Armadim, which means to stand. Men of Israel, we're going to give a quick salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, Armadim Shabbat, Armadim, Barak, Yahweh Shema, that's like Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shah Brakatah, Yadimata, Sar La'agwafi. That means turn to the sisters, men of Israel. We're going to do a quick salute to the sisters, men of Israel, Madam Shabbat, Aymadi, Barak, Yahweh Shema, Alathan, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shah, Yadi Matah. With that, class dismissed.